welcome back to Hanging with the Hoopers. Andrew and Tim Hooper, your hosts.
Yes.
For another episode. We're excited to be here.
We are.
But before we start, I just want to take a moment and say that our thoughts and prayers are with all those getting impacted by Hurricane Ian right now. We're recording here in studio. Hurricane just made landfall. So thoughts and prayers to all our countrymen in Florida and our friends and family and colleagues that are down there.
Yep, been texting back and forth today, and some have evacuated, some are hunkered down, and definitely keeping folks in our prayers. So, and this will probably drop after it's passed, but if we can support any of you listening in any way, you need anything, let us know. We will get in touch with somebody. We all are connected well, but hey, don't feel bad to reach out. So Thank you for being followers of the show, and let's kick this one off.
Excited for this one.
Wow.
Woo!
Mindset.
What do we believe, Tim?
Focus. Well, we believe that the attitude of leadership is everything.
That's right.
The attitude is how we show up. The attitude is how we convey ourselves, the tone of voice, our face, our smile. The attitude is our energy. The attitude is our enthusiasm with our team. The attitude is all about our mindset. And today, we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about focus because there are so many headlines right now. Things we cannot control. But, bro, you're going to zoom us in on the things that we absolutely can control. And let's just sound like a commercial. Let's kick this off to the commercial.
From our
sponsor over there at Energy for Sales. Thank you for the big bucks sponsoring the show. Andrew, why don't you just ad-lib this one and just talk about Energy for Sales and what it's meant to you?
Well, thank you, Energy for Sales, for sponsoring this episode of Hanging with the Hoopers podcast. And if you are like most salespeople out there, there's a lot of noise. There are things that are bombarding our inboxes, our DMs constantly.
Yes.
Easy buttons, gimmicks, things that they think will give us a sale. At the end of the day, Energy for Sales is not about gimmicks. It's about zooming in. It's about creating a plan, having accountability, and executing on your plan to accomplish your sales goals. You can find out more on energyforsalesteams.com. That's energy, the number 4, salesteams.com.
Yes.
Thank you for sponsoring.
You want to get signed up because they're coming out with their certification program for sales professionals to build skill and confidence and a resume builder as well. So
absolutely.
That's pretty cool. So
more to come on that.
Yes.
Thanks for sponsoring. Let's jump into our episode for today.
Wow.
Control what you can control. Super ambiguous statement, but extremely applicable in today's environment. And I kind of want to preface this. We talked about headlines. Right? There is a lot. Look out! There's a lot of headlines out there, and at the end of the day, we grew up in kind of an environment where, dinner's over, plop behind the TV, and watch the news channel for 4 hours. And many of us who are millennials, like our parents did that, and we grew up seeing that. And
we didn't watch TV growing up. It was Rush Limbaugh.
Oh my God!
Yes. All right.
So
let's keep rolling.
So with that in mind, and you obsess. We find ourselves obsessing over all the things going on in the world, in our country.
True.
And yes, some of it's in our control. There are times where we can take action to influence policy and headlines and things of that nature. But for the most part, what we're consuming in that regard, the noise, all the uncertainty in the world, is this person going to push a nuclear button, or is this going to happen, or who, what celebrity cheated on their wife next, or whatever.
You said it a couple of times in the last couple of days. Are you okay? Are you stressing out by the nuke?
No, not at all. I was like, wait, what did I say a couple of times? So, but there's all this noise, right? And so as a leader, it's important to parse through the noise and have the right mindset.
Yes, it is.
And it starts by really where you spend your time. So first and foremost, are you constantly consuming the negative headlines? What are we consuming? So the wise person once said, I have 2 dogs. They fight all the time. Yes. And someone asked, well, which dog wins?
Yes.
Whichever dog I feed the most.
Yes. Negativity.
We may not think we're negative in how we lead in our mindset. Yeah. However, if that's all we're consuming,
huge,
and we're sitting in front of the old news channel for hours a day, or we're surfing news headlines, or we're listening to news, like all these things can just unconsciously and subconsciously push us towards kind of that negative outlook in our mindset. And then as we're leading, that can't help but come out into the way that we lead and create uncertainty for our people. So I think at this time in our country and in the world, it's important to talk about this, Tim.
It really
so
is.
Talk about what jumped up in your mind as I was talking.
Well, first off, I want to say pro tip that I've had to incorporate in my life, because our Apple devices or Google devices in our hands, this is now the new TV screen, right? So we're bombarded with the news at a moment's notice right there on our device. And don't check the news first thing when you wake up. Check into your mindset, meditate, check into your journal. Right now I'm practicing gratitude. So I'm writing down an intention for the morning. Thank you, Tally and Suzanne from our Energy for Sales Summit that we were on, challenging me to do that. But I'm trying to be more proactive. Andrew, what you said, positivity and negativity. Feeding the positivity first thing, because that sets the tone for the day. Now,
we're not talking about frou-frou positivity.
Absolutely.
What are the things that fuel progress in your life?
What am I
positive
grateful
things.
for? Listen, what I can control when I wake up is putting my feet on the floor.
Right.
And grateful for that.
Yeah.
I can put my feet on the floor. What I can control from there is what attitude and tone of voice I wake the kids up with and get them ready for school and help get them off to school.
Right.
Right?
Flashback alert.
Yeah. Whew. So that's what I can control. How I kiss my wife or don't kiss my wife on the way out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what I can control. How I enter the office, whether that's virtually on Zoom from my home office or whether it's from a coffee shop, how I treat the barista, or how I enter the actual physical office location. What is on my face? What am I thinking? Am I walking with gratitude for this office? Am I walking in with disgruntledness because a podcast I just consumed that had nothing to do with anything I could control?
Right.
Again, it's just these habits of which dog am I feeding? Andrew, I love that analogy. I'd forgotten that one, actually. That was good. Positivity, negativity, two dogs fighting all the time. Unfortunately, the negativity bias happens a lot of times naturally, and it has a lot more fear attached to it, so it has a lot more impulse. So when we see and here's the other thing, headline feeds that. It's delicious. It's an appetizer.
Don't you think that as humans we have a
easier.
tendency
Yes, it's easier.
to kind of gravitate towards the negative?
It's easier. I looked up something today. I saw a YouTube channel jumped out at me. And it was somebody that I had been kind of suspecting was maybe somebody I didn't want to follow, but they were like very attention grabbing. But I saw somebody else on YouTube knocking that person. So I was like, ooh, that would validate my point on why not to follow that person. So, but it was, again, the headline was, why this person is this. And I'm like, it drew me in. And I had to sit there and say, what am I going to do? Watch it? It was what surprised me, bro. Here we are creating these leadership podcasts and being like, let's keep these easy to digest and understand, 20 minutes, 25 minutes max, 18 minutes roughly. And this YouTube knocking this person was like an hour and 40 minutes, bro, and it had like 160,000. It was 2 days ago, and I was like, that's what people are
Isn't
consuming.
it crazy? Yeah.
That's what people are consuming. And I was about to be one of those people. Again, it's just you said it, subconsciously happening. So I'm going to kick it back over to you, because that's what happened for me, is my own personal habits and where I have to grow. Start with gratitude, no frou-frou. I do consume
no
news.
one has
I go
arrived.
read the headlines, kick it back to you.
No one has arrived here at any level. We all are human, and at the end of the day, it's a daily struggle for all of us here, right? Miguel, you probably agree on this. It can be a daily struggle for us to focus on the right things that are moving our lives and our things forward, our business forward.
Yeah.
Because the negativity is all around us.
Yes.
No matter where you look.
Yes.
And the things that we can't control all around us. How many times in business have we had kind of the worry wart disease of like of worrying about all the stuff that could possibly happen.
Right.
And we spend all this time capital thinking about energy and time capital, thinking about what could happen.
The anxiety.
Yeah.
There you go, Miguel. And the anxiety that comes from that, and then it kind of takes us off track of what we need to be focused on in business.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you look up and you're like, well, can I change any of that? No. Did any of what I worried about happen?
Probably
no.
not. Yeah.
So think about that. Stories all the time. As a kind of a manager in banking, there's always things happening.
Yep.
I think about this applying to business, practicality.
Yes.
So to all the employees or people who work for somebody out there, we all know somebody on our team that we look at and we think they could be doing more. It reminds me of an employee I had one time. Their entire existence at work consisted of them coming to me, the manager, and complaining about someone else on the team nonstop. Okay. You notice something once or twice, let me know about it. Great. But after that, to all you employees out there, if it's not directly impacting you, what happens with that person from leadership is really not your concern, because can you control what that person does? No. You can control how you react.
Right.
You can control your attitude and how you show up. And so I'd like to challenge everyone listening, leaders as well, to think about that.
Yes.
How often are we talking about something, about somebody else? Not saying it's wrong to bring things up that need to be brought up.
Right.
But how many times do we waste all this time just talking about the same things over and over, and we never take action to fix? Or it's not in our control to fix it, but we get caught up constantly gossiping and talking about it, and it starts consuming who we are.
Well,
I've seen people get derailed in their careers by this because it becomes all about everyone else. And it's like, hey, what can you control?
Correct. I've heard it, Andrew, to your point. Oh, I got passed over on this promotion, and for the next 2 years, 3 years, everything is done in light of I was passed over. And while it's easy to gravitate towards that negativity of, oh, that manager must suck, actually, I've dug into both sides, and there was nothing wrong with the manager. Think about this, start empathizing with your leadership. They're also put in some tough situations sometimes where they got to make a decision, and sometimes they have 3 wonderfully, perfectly good candidates. Get over it. Get over it. If you're an employee listening, move on. Control what you can control. Here's the other thing. Effort is 100% your responsibility, your ability. Go bring your effort every day, and another opportunity will present itself. The cream rises to the top. You know, in my career, Andrew, I've never asked for a raise. A raise has always found me. Okay? You never have to ask for a raise if you're showing up with vigor, you're showing up with energy, and you're putting it in and doing it right, and just keep giving. But you have to feed the positivity. If you don't feed positivity, a vacuum will exist.
So can I challenge you on something?
Miguel's going to challenge.
Can I challenge you on something?
Yes, please.
Because there are. I'm not going to get into potentially political or topics, but on the whole,
well, you can't. We talked about Rush Limbaugh earlier. So.
Well, I know, right? At the end of the day, when it comes to asking for a raise, there are times in our lives, you and I, that we haven't had to do that because of our status and who we are as people. Has kind of just led itself to that. There are a lot of issues with pay inequalities out there right now, and that's being addressed. And I want to just make it very well aware to our audience that
this is not a car.
There are. You should ask for a raise if you're underpaid, or if you're doing more. You should ask for promotions. Right. You should go after those things. So I just want to challenge you on that piece.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you are in control of your effort, and the ability to go ask for a raise or to go for a promotion is going to tie back directly to your effort.
To the effort. That's
right. And in today's world, more than ever, as these issues become more and more prevalent, and leaders across different organizations are actually looking at this.
Right.
Which is an important topic. So I encourage you to make sure that your ask matches your effort.
Right.
If you're not giving effort, don't ask.
Right. You can control your effort. That isn't 100% within your control. The raise isn't always, but then you can go ask for it if you know the effort.
I know our producer Miguel had something he wanted to say.
Yeah, I just want to tie it back to our earlier episode when you talked about candidates when it comes to, like, for example, Andrew. He had his he was passed on when it came to promotions.
Right.
But the work ethic had a lot to do. Your mindset was in the proper position to obviously allow you to focus more, hear feedback from all these leaders, and you went your way to eventually get the job that you were looking for.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And so how you respond
matters.
It's totally in your control.
I love what Stephen Covey says about respond. I love that he said respond. He said it's response ability. Right? So responsibility, being responsible, is realizing you have response ability. The ability to choose your response to what happens.
Right.
Okay. I cannot control what happens. And many of us from birth, we didn't control the the what do they call it? The deck of cards we were dealt, or the hand of cards, the deck, the hand that we were dealt.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But we can take and make the most of it. We can be grateful for it, learn from it. If you go back to our earlier podcast, heal and deal.
Heal and deal.
And we haven't had anybody chime in yet on the rhyming
third
word. So
word.
please go check that one out and comment in the comments, in the show notes, comments of your rhyming word. But heal and deal. Move on. You are in. You can control what you can control, and you can't what you can't.
It's, again, very ambiguous statement that gets thrown out there all the time
It
in
does.
leadership,
It
but we're
does.
trying to make it practical. How do you shut that valve off? How do we shut that valve off?
And let me chime in on this. The negativity, it's easy because it comes natural. We talked about that earlier. But the thing is, it also is easy. Like, there's not work involved. There's a lot of time and energy capital, like you stated, Andrew. But there's no work involved. We're just rehashing, repassing back and forth.
Push a button on a
Just
remote.
Push a button on a remote, change a
Scroll.
channel, scroll. It's easy. It's a lot of time consumption, but it's easy. Whereas there's a report sitting on your desk that if you sliced and diced and looked into, you could probably make some observations and give that up to your leadership, and you could actually be looked at in a whole different light as somebody contributing to the team. Or there's a project at work nobody wants or nobody will do, but you could absolutely go do it, take it on, have some initiative. Or you could go in and put yourself in the seat as a customer and just look around the office and say, what could change to make the environment better, and make some recommendations. Those things take initiative, and that's what's hard about feeding the positivity. You have to have initiative. Nobody is going to come to your life and say, here's 10 steps to make your life better. You have to initiate those things.
So in business, if we're not talking about all the negative going on, what do we got to fill that time with? Work, action, things that move the business forward. So you got to be accountable.
Wow.
Water. Listen, I was talking to a leader the other day, and he was telling me how he had to crack down on some employees that were having way too much water cooler talk throughout the day, taking away, and it started impacting performance of the business.
Sure.
We're in the title industry, so files weren't. There was things that were starting to lag, and I made it for. I was like, 15% of the day spent on water cooler talk is probably okay. He's like, no, 2%. 2%.
I do disagree. 15% is too much.
Well, see, have compromise, right? Like, at the end of the day, people are not.
But I also have a
people,
huge impatient bone in my body.
You do, and good job recognizing that. You're super aware. That's what I love about you.
Oh.
At the end of the day, people are not robots.
Yeah.
They're not gonna. You can't plug them into the wall and push a button and expect them to go up all day. Sorry about that.
Right.
Every day.
Right.
So humanity needs to prevail there, and we're not saying don't talk about what's going on in the world.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
But does it
A lot of
consume
lessons to
you?
learn.
Does it consume you?
Right.
Back when working in banking, when the cryptocurrency market started blowing up, and God help you if you're still invested there. But it's been a rough year for crypto. But when the crypto market started blowing up, I was working out in the Silicon Valley, which is everyone there was going crazy about. I remember when Bitcoin reached 4,000 or 5,000 for the first time, and we had like an original investor cash out and deposit like $140 million into his bank account. And everyone's like, oh my goodness. People maxing out their credit cards to buy it when it was at 19,000 for the first time.
Wow.
So it was pretty. There was a lot of frenzy around it. Everyone wanted to just hang out in the branch and talk about crypto all day and what they were investing. It's like, okay, this is going on.
Yeah.
So how do you translate that? You can still talk about it, but talk about it with your clients.
Right.
They probably are wanting to have the same conversations that you're having around this. So how can you flip what's going on, current events, and flip that to help your business?
Yes.
But also recognize that there are going to be things your clients want to talk about in business that are going on, just like you want to talk about.
Yep.
So just redirect some of that effort. Another super
Controlling.
underutilized piece of controlling what you can control, and this has to do more with like my personal weight loss journey this year and some of the things I've been through, is giving yourself that direction at the start of the day, your intention of the day. Writing stuff down, taking notes, writing stuff down, and then affirming to yourself every day, guys. I think this is such an underutilized component of how we lead ourselves. Yep. If you would take a moment to write down some affirmations, it would take you 5 minutes.
Yep.
3 things you want to accomplish in the next 3 months. And if you started every morning by simply saying, I will X, or I'm focused today on controlling what I can control. I'm not going to let what I can't control consume me. And if I reduce the amount of time I spend talking on this stuff by this amount, I'll be happy. Whatever. Give yourself some affirmation, something that's specific and attainable that you can go for.
Throw it into the universe.
Throw it out there, speak it, write it down. So powerful, right? So practicality, if you're not doing that, I challenge you to go start doing that, and you'll be shocked what it does for your life.
Challenge accepted. And I'll tell you something interesting. As I wrote down one of my affirmations the other morning, like my intention for the day, I'm affirming this. I'm going to listen more. I'm going to talk less. And then I put okay, I'm going to do that with my kids. I'm going to do it with my clients. I had 3 coaching calls that day. As I got into some conversations, somebody's like, Tim, wrap us up. Or Tim, whatever. They tossed the conversation to me. I said, I just want to challenge all of us to listen more to our teams. And what I'm finding out already doing that today is I heard somebody reached out afterwards and I was super challenged by that. And I just, in one 24-hour period, I realized that the power of intentionality, of focusing on something I could absolutely control.
Right.
And how much you want to bet that my wife's life was bettered, my kids' lives were bettered, my team's lives were bettered because of me simply saying I need to talk less and listen more, right? That's something I could absolutely control. So make yourself a little T-chart, okay? And then just put on here, control, not control. And the little T-chart, right? When you do pros and cons lists in your life about a decision you have, I always recommend doing a T-chart, pros, cons, okay? Do that right now. Just T-chart, little T, and then over here, put in here control, not control. And then everything you're anxious about, stressed about, worried about that you cannot absolutely control, nothing, none of it. The job you just lost, the grocery you just passed over for, your crummy boss, the stuff, everything you can't control, list it all down. And then scratch through it. Now over here on the left, it's going to be harder to come up with this list. What can you actually control? Andrew, you said weight loss. Every time we talk about that, and every time I see you engaged in that, there's a sunrise picture involved. There's a early morning workout in the cold. I don't know how you do it in a short sleeve shirt, but you do. You get out there and you do it, and then or your arms are sore when we're together. You're like, dude, bro, my arms are sore. I'm crushed with my buddy at this workout, whatever. Every time I get inspired. I get rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Right? But it's that hard work of doing something you can control actually starts ripple affecting out from you.
Absolutely.
And the fringe benefits are enormous. Whereas everything else in this other column on the T-chart is just a spiral downward. It helped nobody. It actually lost you trust with your team. Somebody's like, he's just always talking garbage. He's just always, whatever. You think it's benefiting because everyone's hungry for that. Because we all have this appetite. You have to recognize
it's kind of the cool kid mentality, right? Yeah, it's hard.
But it doesn't serve you or anybody else.
Right.
There's a time to have tough conversations. This has nothing to do with that. We'll talk about crucial conversations, tough conversations later. And those can sound negative, but they're needed. And that's one-on-one and all that good stuff.
So let me bring it back to what you just mentioned. It's called also being in the moment. What you can't control is being in the moment. Instead of worrying about depressions, things of the past, and the anxiety of things in the future, start thinking about, am I living in the present?
Sure.
That's something that I recently found out. I had a conversation with somebody about that. It's
That's
strong.
powerful.
We have to focus on being present.
That is powerful.
You have to focus on it. And if I can leave us with a quote today.
Yes.
This is not easy to do. This takes a lot of effort. And so encouragement here, the quote, and I don't know I think it's an unknown quote.
Yeah.
Is, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yes.
And so you're going to have a day where you do an affirmation and you don't live up to it. And you're going to have times where you have these conversations and you do things that you don't want to do. Things that you said, I'm done doing.
Right.
Those things will happen. We're human.
Right.
Try again.
Right.
Because we are all striving every day to become, hopefully, a better person than we were yesterday.
Yes.
And don't live in the past. Don't worry about the future.
Yes.
Focus on Miguel. Dude, you nailed it.
Nailed it.
Present, focus. What can I control in the moment?
And I'm glad, Miguel, you live in the moment because this show could not be here without you. And being our producer, our timekeeper, our facial expression adjuster, whatever you want to call it as we're producing this show, man, you're awesome. And I love that you said live in the moment because as a leader, when you show up into the moment, present, and you realize what everyone in that moment could absolutely be worried about, anxious about, depressed about, whatever coming in, I think the true art of leadership who has the right mindset, the right focus is they bring clarity to chaos. And right now there's a lot of chaos in our world. We need leaders to step up to the plate to bring clarity to the chaos because you chose as a leader that you're going to get your mindset right. Focus on what you can control as a leader. So this has been strong, guys.
Good stuff. Great conversation. Yes. Until next time, thank you guys.
Yes. Subscribe, share it around.
Amen.